First, I'd like to say a great congratulations to Palworld for surpassing 1.5 million concurrent online arguments. That is truly a big, big milestone to hit, and we are all very impressed. Everyone's so passionate. Everyone has so much energy talking about Palworld right now. I mean, to be fair, it's one of the biggest game releases of all time. Again, I've taken another L. I thought a million is probably as high as it was going to get, and it's at 1.5 million right now. All-time peak. Damn, people love survival games. People love the kind of arc style of crafting, and people love monster catchers when you can do the same both at the same time. And there's a lot of discourse about Palworld going on right now. And seriously, the fact that they hit such an insanely high player count with such little marketing absolutely blows my mind. And look, they were already going to get a Pokemon mod, which has already been destroyed by the copyright lawyer ninjas here. Palworld already has a Pokemon mod. And then immediately after, Nintendo has come for me as the footage is pulled offline. He didn't even get a chance to upload the full video on his YouTube channel, though. To be fair, if he did try to upload the video on his YouTube channel, he probably wouldn't have a YouTube channel anymore. It probably would have been utterly destroyed. It probably would have been dispatched by the Nintendo ninjas in quick pace. So that didn't last very long. In fact, I was going to show a GIF of what the footage looked like, but I was like, oh, this is a stupid idea, Daniel. Don't do that. Don't do that, you idiot. Don't. That would be a really dumb idea to do, wouldn't it? Okay, so update on the video. Apparently, he did post it. I thought that he wouldn't actually post it, but he just did. It's been up for 56 minutes, and it may be gone by the time this video is uploaded, because the first thing he says
I
is...
did something that Game Freak didn't have the balls to do. Misty!
Okay, I'm not going to show any more to protect myself, because... wow, that is 100% brave. It's brave to do that, considering his tweet got taken down by a copyright notice. I would be a little concerned as to what would happen to my channel, but you know what? Everyone makes their own decisions, right? There's a lot of discussion about Palworld, whether things are stolen, whether the game's actually any good or not, but it seems people have been enjoying it a lot recently. The CEO has hit back against claims that old tweets to prove pals are being AI generated because, as we know, the CEO had a lot of tweets about how AI generation was really, really cool, and he was doing a lot of AI generation, which kind of put people in a situation where they thought that maybe the pals themselves were AI generated. I don't think they were AI generated. I don't think the models were AI generated. Maybe they could have done like concept art that was maybe generated with AI, but as far as it goes, I think this is just good old fashioned. Let's do a little bit of copying. Let's do a little bit of plagiarism. And you know, everyone is up in arms as to whether or not that's okay. The multi-billion-dollar corporation Nintendo, are we going to go bat for a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Or maybe it's just a different point entirely. Is stealing like that really an okay thing? There were a lot of models that look very, very similar to the pals, which is interesting. I don't think this is something... I don't know if they would just straight up take the model of the character and then just make it their own, because it is almost bar for bar exactly the same. Now you might say, oh my god, Wolf looks like Wolf. Wow, well done, Daniel. Very smart. Of course a wolf's going to look like a wolf. But this is bar for bar exactly the same. Then if you go to some of the other creatures as well, it's again, it's the same model for the Salazzle. And then the Luxray. Apparently the Luxray character wasn't in the game, though I'm not sure if that's true or not. But again, bar for bar, the Luxray character, very, very, very similar. And then we have Primarina's hair compared to the hair thing of one of the pals, which they do look very similar. They're not exactly the same, but they're so similar. Realistically, I think, yeah, they looked at Pokemon, they were like, yeah, I mean, we could probably like make them look a little bit like that. I mean, Pokemon are pretty popular. Wouldn't it be cool if ours looked a little bit like that too? And they just took it. I mean, I don't know if you could really defend against that. And honestly, you shouldn't. I think most people playing Palworld don't care. I don't think they care. Asmon Golden made a tweet that says, the success of Palworld proves the only thing customers actually care about is a good game. AI, slavery, wait, what? Bestiality? Since when was that? That's not a part of it. Wait, what? Is that? No. Is that? Can we check? Is that part of the game? Oh, okay. Well, whatever. Copyright infringement? It's a video game. These are pretend problems that people don't actually care about that. Well, I mean, there's still like actual, like copyright infringement is still a thing, right? The question is, how much do people individually care about copyright infringement? Technically, you're not really allowed to upload videos on YouTube and certain things. You can't sit there and react to anime, though I bet people would freaking love it if you could sit and react to anime. Can you imagine if you could just react to anime videos and have your favorite YouTuber or streamer react to it and then post it online? People would love that. People would go to crazy for that. They would think it's great. I would think it's great. Honestly, I think that's fantastic. But I mean, you can't do it. And the slavery part, I mean, this is just kind of what Pokemon is in a way. You go out into the wilderness and you beat up an animal and you lock it in a ball, but it's okay because you're like best friends. You're like such good friends with them. But it does seem like if you just make a game that people like, then people will enjoy it. And it's really that simple. People just like playing the game, which I do think that people have been going a little bit too crazy about it online. The previous video that I made, I don't really take a hard stance on anything. I just said, wow, look at these things. This is probably stolen. That's kind of stolen. Definitely stolen. And then people would just make up things that I didn't say. Maybe they'd heard it from some other Palworld detractor over there on the internet somewhere. I was kind of just sitting in the middle like, oh, look at this stuff. That's kind of crazy, isn't it? Maybe it's bad that this is happening. I don't know, whatever. But hey, if an indie company's made a game and it's pretty good, then it's just great that an indie company's able to release a game that gets 1.5 million players. The AAA companies are seething right now. They have no idea what to do. They've beaten every single record Palworld has. It's going crazy. And honestly, if a game is able to come out from a company that doesn't really have a massive marketing budget or much going with them, they don't have a big publisher backing them, and it's able to get that many players just because of word of mouth and people liking the gameplay, I think that's a good thing. Depending on the actual video game itself, like you could be like, oh, well, this has other problems, but I think that's a good thing in general. But what's funny is I've started to play a game. When I looked at the games from these companies, I thought to myself, where did that come from? Because I'm going to show you the cutscene from the first boss right now of the game, Zoe and Grisbolt. So they come out and they have this little cutscene. And I didn't even know there was cutscenes for this. And I thought, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, so you had this little like intro sequence to the fight where she comes out and like the character looks cool. It's a cool design. And then they have like this little section here. And I was like, my first thought was, wow, that was cool. And then my second thought was, wait a minute, I've seen this before, haven't I? And it's the same thing that happens in Borderlands. When you encounter a Borderlands character, it does the same thing where it takes the background away, it focuses on the character, and the name comes up in the exact same kind of way. It even has like the splashes in the background too, which is really funny. So I started to think like, oh man, how much do they take from other companies now to play a little bit of a game like this? Like, where did this come from? It's like the gameplay itself, it's pretty reminiscent of Ark and other survival games. The stuff is pretty basic. Like you can make your own base, and a lot of the combat seems pretty basic combat. The only difference being that you can use your pals, which is, you know, an entertaining thing that people like doing, people like playing. So now to the title of the video, which might be something like Palworld shouldn't have been able to be made or something like that. There is a post released by the developers showing that this game really shouldn't have been able to be made because it required 6 miracles in order to actually be released. The first one was they hired a 20-year-old, I believe, middle school dropout convenience store worker with no experience in the industry to help them make this game. And he just turned out to be like insane at creating this game, which is like just ridiculous, with no experience whatsoever. They migrated the engine from Unity to Unreal Engine 4. They had to basically start the code again, and there was no one in the company that had experience with Unreal Engine 4, which blows my mind because just knowing how hard it is to develop games, migrating engine is a massive dampener on any kind of development timeline, and no experience in the engine means it's going to take so much longer. It's going to be so much harder to make the game. They created over 100 monsters, and there was no one in the company with any experience in motion. How did they do? I didn't manage my budget. It was barely completed and cost about 1 billion yen, which when you translate that to American Dilla comes out at about $6.7 million, which honestly isn't that expensive, but they almost completely ran out of money. A new graduate who they were going to hire who was rejected during the document screen and ended up being the most important position, which is, again, ridiculous. And Miracle 6 was Palworld turned out to be good. They didn't even think it was going to be good. Like, this is some alpha gameplay that they had of the alpha of the game when they were developing it. And they were looking at this like, oh man, is this going to be fun? Jeez, is this going to be good? And they almost blew their budget. They had 1 billion yen in budget, which came from a previous game that they released called Craftopia. And I remember the name Craftopia. So I looked into that as well, and Craftopia had some pretty crazy gameplay, looking a little similar to like a few things. And at this point, it's like, oh, okay, this. They're just like going crazy with it. They're just putting it all in there. They're seeing everything, and they're like, yeah, let's put it all in. They got some characters that are a little familiar. Oh, you know, they're like a little familiar if you're a Zelda fan. And at this point, I just find it funny. I really do. I just find it funny at this point. I don't know. Nintendo's a big company. I'm sure they'll be all right. I don't think they should steal from or anyone small. Don't steal from any other indie companies. Don't steal from, you know, the people that really need it. The people that are struggling on the front lines of game dev. This is just kind of funny. It's kind of entertaining to watch. I feel like people get very 100 about everything when a lot of times, I don't know about you, I just chill at like a 30, maybe a 40%, and everyone's always 100 about things, very passionately defending everything, which is a lot of energy. It's a lot of energy to passionately defend everything. So, you know, maybe arguing a bit less would be good for all of us. And speaking of passionately defending everything, the CEO of the Palworld company, I think it's called Pocket Pair or something like that, made a tweet that said, we're receiving slanderous comments against our artists and we're seeing tweets that appear to be death threats. I've received a variety of opinions regarding Palworld, but all productions related to Palworld are supervised by multiple people, including myself, and I am responsible for production. I would appreciate it if you would refrain from slandering artists involved in Palworld. So he's just basically saying, hey, listen, the artists are just doing their job, okay? Buck stops with me. I respect that. I respect that a CEO is willing to go to bat for their own people, even if I, might disagree with the fact that he's like a big AI art guy, or maybe like a NFT guy or a crypto guy. I don't agree with saying horrible, terrible things on the internet just because you think that, oh, that kind of looks like a Pokemon. It's a bit much. It seems like a bit too much energy to be expending over a video game that you don't really have to play. I think it's interesting to talk about, and it's crazy how well it's done. And I hope that indie games can continue to do really well. Maybe some that don't take so much inspiration. If you like video game, then you like video game. I hope you have a great day.